Hey, so it's been a while since I have reviewed anything or put anything up on my channel, and I've had so much amazing support from a lot of people who really liked the Last Wish review and some of my other reviews, and I really felt like I owed it to you and to myself to make another video. And so what I think worked really well with the Last Wish review was that I was going completely improvisationally and I was doing it with a lot of energy. And I think that people responded very well to that. And with my other reviews, which were much more prepared and scripted, people didn't really vibe that well with them. So in this review, I'm going to do what I did in the first review that I ever did, which is to this day the most successful review that I did, where I'm going to not use a script and I'm just going to completely improvise. So I'm also going to do something slightly different, which is I'm not going to really avoid spoiling the experience of Solaris. I'm going to get into all the themes that I think are important to talk about Solaris, and I'm going to say the things that I think mattered about Solaris and resonated with me. I'm not going to go very in-depth with the plot. I'm going to tell you how the book made me feel, what the book is like, and talk about some of the interesting statements of it. So if you don't want that, then I think now is the time for you to exit stage left. So Solaris is fundamentally about an individual who is trying to understand a planet that is also an alien life form. Solaris was written in the 60s, 70s by a Polish writer, and he's an exceptional writer called Stanislaw Lem, and he is a really remarkable writer, and Solaris is a really incredible book. When we talk about science fiction and when we look at what alien civilizations always look like, it's either a civilization that's more quote-unquote primitive than what we were, and it maybe is some kind of a Pocahontas analog, or it's going to be a reflection of who we are. So you have a civilization that is more or less in a similar technological capacity, and they are going to be like Klingons or Romulans. They will have a lot of human characteristics, but they'll look very different, and they're comparable. It will be like Star Trek. Then you have aliens that are more advanced than us, which also sometimes happens in Star Trek. And these aliens will either represent our most aggressive and sociopathic sides. So in the case of Lovecraft, people always say that these aliens in Lovecraft, like Cthulhu, are the opposite of what humanity is. But they're really just kind of like a 3-year-old child that is playing with ants. It's the indifference. It's a human indifference. It's like Cthulhu is a guy in France who makes foie gras, is all Cthulhu is at the end of the day. And on the other hand, the aliens can be super kind and very wise creatures. And so I think that the premise of Solaris is that the thing that humans want out of alien contact is a mere reflection of what humanity is. And so in a sense, the writer of this book is saying that the desire to meet aliens or to pursue this form of alien contact is a bit of a narcissistic kind of a thing. And but it's not a critical. He's not criticizing this, okay? Because the planet that we find, the thing that is alien life in Solaris, is it's something that scientists have really struggled to understand. And nobody really understands it. There are massive bodies of literature in the world of Solaris that are written about this planet, so this system Solaris. And nobody has ever been able to figure out a theory of how this planet works or why it truly constitutes. Everybody agrees that it constitutes life, but nobody understands it, and nobody has been able to communicate with it. And a lot of people have given up on it, and that's kind of the point where when the main character, who's a first-person narrator, when he shows up at Space Station Solaris, he's basically at that point. I'm just going to be out with it so that we can move forward. The planet is capable of communicating with humans, but humans aren't really able to understand. And it's not because it's communicating in a different language. It's communicating in a language that people can't understand. They can understand, but it's not a language that humans want to listen to. And what the planet is saying, and this is the only thing that the planet is saying, is the planet is saying, I understand that you are flawed. And I understand that you have this need to not be alone. And I can't give you exactly the thing that you're looking for, but I think it's okay that you are on this mission to search through the cosmos to find something that matches you, and I'll do what I can to make that work. That is what the planet is trying to do, but people aren't really capable of understanding this. And so there are 4 people who are on the space station Solaris, okay? And they are experiencing for the first time the true and most effort, the most effort that Solaris has ever put in trying to communicate with humans, okay? And it's this. Unbeknownst to everybody on Earth, Solaris has essentially been able to work, it's been somehow able to understand how people think, and it has been able to create some kind of representation in material form of the person that individual wants to be connected to more than anything. And it's not a perfect recreation. The person might have memories that they're not supposed to have. They are in some ways better than a human in the sense that they regenerate, they don't require food. But these individuals, they're not aware of the fact that these creations of the planet Solaris are not aware of the fact that they're creations of Solaris. And they are born, they appear to our characters with a deep need to be accepted and connected to this person that they love. So in the case of our main character, he is immediately connected to the replica of the woman that he loved more than anything, who he was married to maybe 10 years ago, and who committed suicide when their marriage kind of started to fall apart. And at first, our main character can't accept the fact that this is a person who thinks that she is the person that he loved, and she has, for more or less, all the same characteristics. I mean, she remembers the same thing, and she wants him, and she's afraid to not be with him. Much in the same way that he has been living his life very much afraid of the fact that he no longer has her. But he's unable to accept this. And the point of the story is how he goes from not being able to accept her and not being able to accept Solaris to being able to accept Solaris and to be able to accept her. I think what makes this book so interesting is, apart from the suspense of it, it's this journey of seeing how the narrator tries to interpret Solaris. It's the journey that makes this a very interesting book, because it's the way in which the writer has depicted the application of the scientific method in order to try and solve a mystery that is interesting. It's interesting to see how how our narrator goes from starting off trying to use the scientific method and approaching the problem of Solaris entirely scientifically, and he eventually goes to a more psychological point of view until finally he sees things more from what we might call the Little Prince point of view, where he starts to see things where what is essential is invisible to the eye, but visible to the heart. And I think that seeing that journey was really interesting and beautiful. So I really love Solaris, or Solaris. I still have no idea how to pronounce that, and I'm so sorry, because a lot of my viewers are from Poland, and I butchered the names of your authors, and I'm sorry that I can't. I'm not sure how to pronounce their names, but they're truly great writers, and Poland should be very proud of these authors. And I'm sorry that I don't speak Polish, because it would have been wonderful to read Solaris in its original vernacular, just like how it would have been wonderful to read The Witcher in the original vernacular. And I think that it's incredible how there are these two gems that I've found that both come from Poland, and they have something really interesting in common. So both Solaris and the Witcher series, they do something very interesting, which is they take everything that people find interesting about these genres, and they use these things as an excuse to talk about the human condition. Which and the success of these series and their popularity speaks to the success of the writers in being able to take these things that are very exciting and to use them in a way that is really meaningful. And I think that that's the cool thing, is that it's, there's nothing worse than picking up a fantasy novel or a science fiction novel and being bored. It's wonderful when you're engaged by a science fiction novel or a fantasy novel, and there's no shame in liking something that's fun. But I think that when something's not only fun but also challenges you as a person, I think that you've really found something really special there. And I think that it's interesting that Solaris and The Witcher have these in common. So I think I've really said my piece on this. Thank you for watching these videos, as always. It's a pleasure to make these. I think it's fun to talk about these things. So I had a blast, and I can't wait to make another video for you. Thank you very much.